What you doing?
Ran out of space on my phone, so I'm deleting some stuff. Bye, singing dog. Bye, goal.
I pronounce you
Bye,
husband.
wedding ceremony.
Stop. At Metro PCS, you get 2 free phones with twice as much memory.
Really?
Don't say bye to your memories. Switch to Metro PCS and get 2 free LG K20 Plus phones with 32 gigs when you switch 2 lines. Metro PCS. Wireless. Figure it out. Coverage not available in some areas. Sales tax not included in phone price. Excludes numbers on the T-Mobile network. See store for details and terms and conditions.
Blog Talk Radio.
Good morning, kids. It's Sunday, and it's 11. No, it's not even 11. It's 10 o'clock. This is exactly why I don't do radio on a Sunday morning or any morning on a weekend, because I'm not awake long enough. I'm thinking it's New York City time. But the guy that I have on my show today, dear John, who we're going to be talking to very shortly, which is the author. I'm so very excited to talk about this book. First off, it's called Bronx Park East, Chaos, Insanity, and Tragedy. And I'll quickly give the story, and I know John's holding, so I'll try to keep it brief. Long story short, I actually found him on Facebook. I happened to notice that he was a mutual author like myself. I happened to notice he was from New York City, which is my second love, which is even greater. And third of all, now that I've had multiple conversations with him, during the course of the first hour, you're going to find a lot of information about him, myself. It's a touching, it's a moving story. It's brutal at times. It's honest all the time. It's funny at times. I'm going to let him speak for himself as it relates to his book, but you guys are in for a huge treat. He's an absolutely amazing human being, and I'm very, very proud to honor him and have him on my show today. So without further ado, I'm going to stop babbling and put him on the line with me. Hi, John.
How you doing? Hey,
I'm
Cindy,
doing
how are
okay.
you?
I'm tired and I'm babbling this morning. I'm like, this is why I don't do radio on a Sunday, because I think I'm on 11 o'clock time, which is your time right now, right? And thank you for calling in early.
The same here. I'm
came late.
babbling too. The same here. Don't worry about it.
Okay, we're going to bounce around all over the places, which is what I kind of warned you about. So before we start talking about the book, because we'll do that on and off and on and off. So basically, I'll structure the interview where we'll start off doing something really, really simple and really easy, which is most of my listeners have no idea who you are or where you come from. So I want you to talk a little bit about you as the person now at this point, because you're 51 years old, and then we'll backtrack a little bit into your past history and such. I'm going to tell you right now, folks, he's an Italian. He's got himself some tattoos. He lives in an anonymous location, and we're purposely saying that. But there's some things about you. You know, you're a tough guy who loves animals, which I find rather intriguing. Johnny Bagels, I want you to talk about that, your nickname. And I want you to give people a sense of the person that you are outside of the author and the man that's portrayed in the book, if you would, please.
I grew up in the 204th Street section of Bronx, New York. It was Irish, Italian, Puerto Rican neighborhood, and it was the same. You know, back then it was you go to school every day, or even you walk out the door. It's the generation today is they talk and they insult. Back then it was all fighting. You say something to somebody, it's on within 1 second. You're going to start fighting. And that happens every single day. You know, it's that's just the way it was. You know, I grew up that way, and I moved to Buffalo, New York when I was 9 or 10 years old, and that was another. It's such a drastic change from Bronx, New York, to Buffalo, New York. The people are completely different. They're just they weren't ready. They weren't ready for somebody. I look a certain way, I talk a certain way. They just weren't. It wasn't easy, and you got to adjust and everything. And then I had to come back when I was 14, back to the Bronx and New York City, and then that was another big change. So you got to adjust. And when you're young like that, and you got crazy, dysfunctional parents and all things going on like that, it was difficult.
Well, and my big question when I had first started reading the book and not knowing much about you was, how much of that young man that's portrayed in the book, and not necessarily all young, is a mirror image of who you are today, the man that's speaking to me today? How much of you in that book is left over today?
Well, I believe that you are what you've done in your life, like all the things that you've done in your life, that becomes you. I'm 51 right now. Whatever, all the things that have happened to me, that's me. It's so much that went on. I'm just amazed myself. I feel life experience is way more valuable than any money that you could ever have. So I've had tons of. It's been an amazing ride. You know what I mean? That's why I wrote the book. It's in tribute to my friends and that I had in the Bronx, and you know, man, they saved my life. You know what I mean? It's you gotta have a crew of friends to help you, and you know, it's just been a progression of things that made me into who I am today.
Now, if you had an opportunity, if you could go back right now and you could tell your former self something, what do you think you would say to him, that young man? What do you know now that you didn't know back then necessarily that you could have passed on to him?
Well, what I would tell him is to have, as you're growing up, have some sort of even when you're 14 or 15, I would say, have some sort of goal, who you want to be. Like you want to be a computer guy, you want to be in the military, you want to, you know, have it at that age, what you want to be when you get out of high school. You know, college tuition now is just out of control. But
right.
I wish I had some sort of feeling of, you know, even being a police officer or a fireman or something, have that goal at like right around 15 or 16, so you're ready when you're 18. You know, and you could take, you know, at 21, you could take a test, and you can get involved with these city jobs of being an electrician, or there's so many trades, there's so many, you know, there's thousands of things you could be. You could be a musician, right. You could be this or that, and people don't get to concentrate on that. Then by the time you're 21, you're getting involved in certain things, and then you get confused, you go down the wrong path. And, you know, that's kind of what happened to me. I just couldn't concentrate on, that was just impossible to do it.
Oh, sure. I imagine so. And, of course, we all have those life lessons that we learn from point A to point B, and we wish we could go back and kind of change or alter things. As a child, would you have ever envisioned your life going in this direction? I mean, obviously, we're going to talk about some of the things that happened as a child, but meaning there are some kids that are out there, you know, you watch television, you see movies, and as we all know, it glamorizes a lifestyle of being a tough guy and working the streets and things like this. Was this something you would have ever thought would have become your life?
No. I never imagined, like, up on, you know, maybe until age like 15 or 16, there was just so much dysfunctional things going on. It just
right.
It just overwhelmed me. It just confuses you and overwhelms you. And I understand this younger generation, they can't see, you know, they can't see what their goal is or anything. But you know, it's very confusing. You know, that's all. You know, that's all I'm gonna say. It's you got to just keep your path and just stay straightforward.
Okay. So talk to me, or actually talk to us about Johnny Bagels. One of the things that you get referred to as this, and I thought it was just the funniest thing the very first time. I barely know anything about him, folks. And I'm looking on his Facebook page, and I'm like, Johnny Bagels? Who the hell calls somebody Johnny Bagels? I'm like, this doesn't make any sense to me. So tell everybody how you ended up getting this cute little nickname.
Well, that's just when people, you don't want to give people your real name, especially when I'm doing illegal activities every single day.
Right.
If somebody comes along, I got to do something. So you really don't tell anybody your name. So, you know, you come up with a bunch of nicknames, you know what I mean? My last name, Pasquale, whatever. People call me that. People call John Bagels, whatever. I go into different neighborhoods. People call me hey, Johnny boy, whatever. People call you different things. And you don't want anybody to really know who you are. You don't want to give out too much information. You get, you know, you could be targeted. And you don't want anybody to know your last name, where you live, or anything. So it's kind of, you got to kind of make up, you know, something where people can't find you. That's the way it was. The Bronx was back in the late 80s and early 90s. All I'll say it was just a complete lawlessness. It was just you walk out as soon as you walk out your door. As soon as you walk out your door, get ready. There's been people that I've walked out my door and they're standing right there. They're standing right there and right outside my door, and they're confronting me. And you better be ready, or else you don't know what you're gonna do. Just be ready.
Sure. Well, and one of the things that we'll start off with talking about, you had made a quote, and I want you to explain this to the listening audience because not everybody is from New York City, of course. Not everybody has had the same life you have. You've talked about what goes around comes around in the Bronx. Talk a little bit about that inference, what that actually means to those of us that don't live in that sort of a neighborhood and that sort of violence and criminal activity.
Well, the way I said that, why I say that is because if you keep getting away with things and pushing people to the limit and trying to think that you're invincible, you're not. You will eventually. I'm 51 now, and I was in the streets for about 20 years. Running around. I was still working, but doing things, whatever, here and there, whatever. But no matter what, I could tell you to this day that everybody watches the movies. Nobody gets away with this stuff. They don't get away. You don't get away clean. You don't. You go to prison. You lose your family. They lost their house. They lost everything. I don't know anybody that got away clean. Drug dealers, mafiosi guys, whatever. It doesn't work out that way. There is no rainbow happy ending to these stories. There's always something happens to you, and it doesn't work. If you're watching too many movies, it doesn't really work like that. They put a happy ending, a little smiley face at the end. Goodfellas is a great movie, though. Example, the guy ended up as a schmuck in some little town out in the middle of nowhere, and he couldn't take things like that. There's no real happy ending with these things. If you want to do crime and criminal stuff, you're gonna get hurt. You're gonna get hurt mentally and physically.
And obviously, of course, one of the things and I've talked about this once or twice before on my show, and I'm interested to get your take on this. As you had mentioned, like, for instance, we've watched Goodfellas, Casino, Godfather, things like that. In your opinion, because you've lived some of these similar things that go on, etc., talk to us a little bit about today's up-and-coming kids. Obviously, they watch these shows, they see these films and things like that, and the way at times that your lifestyle or people's lifestyle on the street is portrayed makes it very glamorous, enticing, that there's many benefits to this, etc. Do you think that the media and these productions are doing us or in service rather, or Cindy, what's the word?
What they're
what's
doing,
that word for it? An injustice, because these kids are watching this and thinking, this is what I want to be because it's so glamorized. Make sense?
Yeah, some of them, a lot of people, they don't have a choice. Just like me, I ended up at this dead-end street in life. I was so confused and so blank. There was just nothing in my mind. I didn't know which way to go, and I chose that path. That's what happens, in a dysfunctional family. You get so hurt, and it's mostly confusion, and you got to make, sometimes, what are you going to do? You're going to be, go to college? You can't even concentrate. So, like, they glamorize, like, being a gangster and things like that and on these movies. But, like I said before, it's not going to end up good. It does not ever end up good. There is no happy ending. You're going to go to prison. You're going to get even more mentally shot at that point. The nervousness and nerve-wracking that, you're going to come out of jail as a basket case, if you do any time, and they don't tell you about that part. They tell you about, the money and, I had a lot of fun and things like that, but at this time, the damage to my body and my mind is done. But all I'll tell you is that I had a crew of guys with me, and I got lucky. I write the book, whatever like that. I dedicate the book to these guys. I was lucky. I guess it was like I don't know the chances of getting all these guys together and just having this close group of guys. Like, we were like brothers, and that's it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen very often. And the younger generation, man, it's like, all I'll tell you is, hey man, you can watch all the movies that you want. You're gonna pay a price. Train, it's just not that way.
And that's a great segue, actually, to to starting to talk about some of this, because John's life is very interesting. There's a lot of layers to him, which we're going to get into and talk about. And to those that are listening, obviously, some of this that you're going to hear about is obviously the very large disadvantages of being kind of put into the lifestyle that you were in, obviously. So I want to go back a little bit ways. Another one of the quotes, which I think is amazing that you say, is, "I'm a billionaire in life experience." So using that quote, talk to me a little bit about how being educated on the streets makes you, in some ways, a much stronger and smarter man versus, let's say, a book smart type of person. What if anything, did you derive from that life experience?
Well,
many life
experiences. My opinion on that is very strong. Is that what's happening now in this generation for the past, I don't know, 20 years or whatever? What I'm seeing is materialistic things that everybody's going for. That's what they want. They want a nice car, a nice house, and this and that. And the situation now where I'm in right now, I have those things. I guess, hey, it's one in a million. But I'll just tell anybody, materialistic things, you can't be happy staring at your car all day. You know, like your nice house. And I saw it in person. I lived on Cape Cod, Massachusetts for 5 years. And I'll tell you for a fact that the millionaire people there, they got the lakefront thing, and they got the big porch and the big house. They're miserable. They lived their whole life to make all this money. They're millionaires now, and now they got older, and now they're sitting there and they go get their coffee every day, and they're just miserable. I consider life experience. That's what life's all about. It ain't about the money. If people want to go grab the money, hey, more power to you. But you're going to find out the hard way that it's not going to work. You could sit in your big house all day. I saw it in person. People that have the lakefront in their backyard, and I'll tell you, like, I didn't expect it. I thought they were be happy that way. Nope, doesn't work that way. They're miserable. They sell you the American dream. Get your life experience. Right. Do whatever makes you happy. And that's the best thing you can do for your well-being. And obviously, of course, one of the things that we have to talk about is you obviously have other siblings and such. Some people may not know that, so obviously it's not just you. There are other individuals in the household. Would you, and because we don't know them, obviously, of course, tell us a little bit about them in terms of, have they taken the same path in life? And moreover, do you think that they themselves have ended up having similar experiences and maybe would have the same mindset you do in terms of this? And further, maybe just share a little bit about their reaction to the book, if they've given you any kind of reaction or any sort of thoughts or feedback. Well, I have a younger brother. Me and him were partners in street life for a long time. He's out in Pennsylvania right now, whatever, somewhere, and he's doing well. It's not an easy adjustment. It's just not an easy adjustment to go from the Bronx to go to like a rural area, anywhere, like it's like a small town or something. I don't know. It's just that's just the way it is. My older brother, I really don't talk to him anymore. He had a bad marriage, and you know what? It just changed him, and it actually ruined him. He's just not. He's very bitter. He's just not the same anymore, and I see that with a lot of people. Especially it happens. You get married, you think you're gonna have this nice life. 5 years later, divorce, all your money's gone. It's just it gets very bitter, and he went through that, and I stay in touch with my younger brother, but my older brother, he did a couple of bad, and I'll tell anybody, you could have blood family members that, hey, that's all good, but if they cross the line and they try to hurt you, interfere in your life, it's goodbye. I'll cut you off, and I would do it. I do it with anybody now. If you want to do some drama, you want to do some nonsense, you want to do this, and hey man, I'm too old for that. Listen, man, have a nice life. We had some fun together sometime, And, good luck. I wish you the best. I really wish the best to everybody that I ever met. But you got to you got to do things the right way. You just got to obey the laws, and you got to play by the rules, and you got to treat people with respect. But, some people must still, and it's just this, life's pretty tough, and it's other people that make life tough for each other. We're all just if everybody would just behave themselves, everything would be fine.
Sure. No, I agree with you 150%. That's for certain. And do you think, because I know you were speaking, how these experiences have altered or changed your siblings? So let's talk a little bit about yourself, meaning not just physical changes to you, but what sort of altercation, or I should say alterations, you as a person now, left over after all these experiences we're going to talk about. How have you changed as a person, mentally, spiritually, physically, etc.?
Well, I wouldn't, like I said before, I wouldn't change. I look back, even though it was a lot of bad experiences and whatever. But I'll say one thing: my crew of guys in the Bronx, oh my God, I love them to death. They know who they are. When they listen to this, it was hilarious. We were laughing. We couldn't stop laughing. They were all. It was just so much fun. The damage now is that, I get in some really bad fights. I'm in the book. I'll tell you, I got in the head of a crowbar. I take punches, and I've lost hearing. I've lost hearing in my left ear. It's in my right ear now. I have 5 broken noses. My back, 2 herniated discs. I got water on my knees. I got a broken ankle, a broken toe. My wrists are pretty messed up. And even the soldiers coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan, people don't understand the post-traumatic stress disorder, exactly what it is. It's an anxiety thing of waiting for someone to attack you. And you're sitting there, if you're sitting, anybody can relate to it. You want to sit there and wait, look at a door closed, and wait for someone to break through that door. That's what post-traumatic stress disorder does to you. Do that every day. Do it every day for these guys' tours for a year or 18 months, what they're doing. You're going to end up being paranoid, and it's just going to really have an effect on the way you think and the way you move and the way you are around people. It's very difficult. I do have that now, post-traumatic stress disorder. But I wouldn't change. I don't know how much I would change in my life out of anything. It was just I got lucky. It was just so much fun, and not everybody's that wants to go down the wrong path like I did. They're not going to have the same experience. It's going to be my experience was like I don't know the percentages of it that happening to anybody, of the crew sticking together like brothers, and we had a close knit bunch of friends, and I was very lucky.
Well, and we're very lucky, because if anything would have happened to you, I wouldn't have the opportunity to hear about these experiences or know you. So I consider myself very fortunate. You're very welcome. I'll look at that. He does actually. And that's one thing, folks, that we're going to talk about during the course of this, is that John's extremely and extensively good at utilizing humor to be able to kind of not downplay necessarily these circumstances, but to be able to cope with them. So on that caveat, we'll start talking about the book in different layers here. I think it's probably wisest to start off. To those of you who haven't read the book, I'm not going to give away everything. I'm kind of just going to give the highlights, and you can talk about each section, because they should read for themselves and find out. There's no real delicate way to put this. So we'll talk about, obviously, of course, you had a mom and a dad. Obviously, both are deceased now, one of which dying in 86, the other in 88, mom having a heart attack, father dying from brain cancer. Talk to me about probably your earliest memory, the very, very earliest memory you have of your parents, and maybe tell me, to start off with, before we get to some of the more unpleasant experiences, talk a little bit about maybe a good experience you've had with your parents, or maybe one thing you got from both of them that you have with you to this day. Well, if you could.
Since age 5 years old, my father, or I could describe him as, is a Robert De Niro type of guy. I told him one day, I said, hey, Pops, I said, you know what, you're Robert De Niro and Paul Newman and the same guy. That's how I described him. And if you watch the movie Raging Bull, that's him. He looks like that, he acts like that, and even the violence you see in the movie with his wife and things, those things happened. I saw it in person when he attacked his own brother, like in the movie Robert De Niro in Raging Bull. I saw that him against my mother, just like that. It was what I could say is that the alcohol was a demonic is just a demonic thing with them. They were fine. They were fine when they were, clear of alcohol, whatever. They were straight. Oh my God, it was just like two totally different people. But I don't know. I cannot explain it to this day what was going through their minds. When they would start drinking, what would happen to them. And to anybody listening, alcohol and drugs will make you change. I guess there's demons inside that stuff. I don't know, but I watched it. I watched them change right in front of me. How it would take my mother would take 5 minutes. She'd get a sip of alcohol. She would turn into this monster. Her face even changed. Everything, just become nasty. And my father, it would take him a few hours, but I would say they were both. When they were straight, they were both, oh my God, it was so much fun. It was great. But that only happened a couple of times a week. And they were very consistent in their drinking, so at least 5 days a week, from age 5 to age 22 when my father died, you're talking about either one of two of them, they were drunk. And they were doing this thing, this fighting. Police, I had to talk the police out of arresting my father, or my mother's doing this crazy screaming thing, whatever. It was a wreck. It was it was nonstop. That's all I'll say to anybody that reads my book. That I couldn't put every detail in the book, but that was 4 to 5 days a week from age 5 to age 22. My father, even when my mother died at age 21, I remember I sat back on the bed and it was a relief. It was almost a relief to talk, say it in that way with it, but it was like, oh, Jesus, the war's over. But then I looked over and I knew my father would continue on somebody, and he picked me out, and I was a target. So it's just, I'll tell anybody with the drinking and the drugs, they show on Hollywood and movies the drinking, and they glamorize it, and it will take you over. You could have some fun when you're younger, but eventually it makes you change. And man, what I saw was just and I'll tell you, watch the movie Raging Bull or watch The Godfather when when the son-in-law beat up the daughter. I can't even know Carlo, he beat up the daughter. I saw that scene in person. I don't know, hundreds of times. Hundreds. I saw that same exact scene. I can't watch it. I have to speed it forward to this day.
Okay, I gotcha. Now, I know that you're speaking, of course, and mentioning that your parents obviously had been abusing alcohol and things of that nature. Did that ever deter you? Because obviously we'll talk about where you ended up, but meaning because you saw the results and the experiences that were resultant in part because of that, did it ever deter you? Did you ever find yourself saying, oh, my God, I never want to be a part of that. I never want to act like that. Have you ever been under the influence of anything and behaved in that similar manner?
No. I actually was hitting women. Anybody that I know, I hear about it. Like in my 20s, whatever. Like that was just something where I have I got my own little skills, my violent skills, and my physical ability and stuff like that. I can hurt you. So I hear anything about something like that. I hear. My younger brother did something like that once, and my older brother tried it once. And I'll just warn you once, but don't do it again, or I'm gonna smash you. I protected a lot of women in my lifetime in my neighborhood in the Bronx. I'll tell them point blank. I'll say, listen, look, if they'll complain about somebody smacking them around or something like that. I've done it before. And I say, listen, tell them if you do it again, I'll be talking to you within a few hours. So I pride myself on that. Got a lot of women with domestic problems with boyfriends and things like that. I protected a lot of people and stuff in my own way. It's just pure violence is all I'll say. People don't listen to anything else. They just don't listen. They're not going to listen to you talk. They're not going to listen to anything. They'll talk and they'll smooth you over. But they'll go back and doing the same thing again. Either you hit them over the head, or they won't stop. That's just the way life is. And I'll tell anybody that to this day. But the laws have changed, and now it's just ridiculous.
I gotcha. And so that we can have a sense of things as your childhood, there's just two things that I pointed out because, like I said, I don't want to tell them everything. They'll be able to read this for themselves. Christmas. It would appear that Christmas was a very big time for you and your household. You had prefaced talking about how your dad made such a big deal about Christmas time and showering you with things, whereas your mother obviously didn't take to that well. And I often wondered if you ever knew the reason why she just was so bitter and so angry about Christmas time. Talk to us a little bit about that in the house, and then if you would share probably, and I don't mean to be grandiose about this at all whatsoever, but to give our listening audience a sense, talk to us about one incident that you might remember that kind of frightened you in the course of time with your parents fighting.
First I'll tell you one of the instances I was going to put in the book, but the editor didn't put it in. But first, Christmas time is my pops. He liked, oh my God, it was great. He would put up the Christmas tree. He had all these expensive ornaments that he bought from all over the country in his travels as a insurance claims manager or whatever. And oh my God, he was very prideful of the tree. Get up early and do that. And in the book I write about, I guess, there's a war going on between my mother and father. And, they want to hurt each other. So at one point, I write in the book how she used to try to knock over I think I was, we lived in Buffalo, New York, and my father put up the tree, and she leaned into it and tried to knock it over first shot. Mm-hmm. It was pretty funny looking. I was like, me and my two brothers were on the couch. We're looking at this thing. We're like, she leaned into it and she missed it though, and the tree was shaking. Like, did she just try to knock? And she went upstairs. She came back down in the kitchen. She came back around again, and this time, she's drunk, and this time she took really good aim. Bam! She went right into it. But I would imagine, I can't get into, there's a war going on, and me and my two brothers are in the middle of it. She hit it right on the nose. She hit the tree right on the nose and knocked the thing right over. And, it's, what was your other question? After all,
the one big thing, of course, not just the Christmas thing, but of course, if you want to give our listeners who've never read the book, for instance, or whatever, put them where you were. Tell them one experience that you
that's
from
what
your childhood
say,
that scared you.
Well, one thing that was the first violent thing that you get, like, people don't understand, like they're playing video games and stuff like that, and you think shooting people and stuff. It's trauma. It's trauma to your mind, and that's what makes you. That's what really important for people to remember. You think you get mugged, or you get, I write in the book, I've been mugged or jumped, I don't know, between 10 and 20 times. I lost count in the Bronx. I was in the street so much you lose count. But one instance I had in the book, but the editor didn't have it in there. My father broke my mother's ribs. She cursing at him, and it was just the same thing, and he just lost his temper, and just like that scene from Goodfellas with Billy Bats on the floor, and they were kicking him to death. They were kicking his chest. I saw that in person. My father doing that to my mother. I saw him. He broke, I don't know how many of her ribs, and he left her there on the couch all night screaming and yelling. You know, so that was like, and another maybe before that, it's actually not in the book neither. Like maybe I didn't send the files, but he broke her arm, and what she did, she tried to kick him, grabbed the foot, and he flipped her in the air, and she landed on the wood between the doors that, you know, half-inch high and 1 inch high, you know, split on the bottom of the door to keep out air or whatever. And her arm, from her elbow down to her hands, went backwards the other way. And my mother, I was 5 years old, and her right arm was pointed back the other way. And your wrist, or your elbows pointed in towards your chest. Her arm was hanging off by her elbow. And, you know, when you're sitting there looking at it, and she's actually walking back and forth, screaming and yelling, cursing at my father, as her broken arm, you know, from her elbow down is hanging off, swinging back and forth. But I think that maybe that one or the broken rib one that happened within a short period of time, that'll, you know, I might at 5 or 6 years old, so that pretty much will traumatize you pretty good.
So let me ask you something. If they were alive today and they saw you and they were standing in front of me, or even if they had unwillingly or willingly had come on the show and I asked them, what would you tell me about your son? What do you think they would say?
What would they say?
Your parents, yeah.
My mother, you know what? It's very strange that you know, she was there every day and see her and stuff like that, but I don't know much about her. I really don't. She didn't say much about her family or anything. You know, she was alive till I was age 21. And my father, he loved us more than anything. He was the sweetest, kindest. You know, he loved animals too. He was the gentlest guy in the world. But the drinking thing, like, it was just like, like demons. You know what I mean? Even see drug addicts or alcoholics today, they do all kinds of terrible behavior. And it's all, a lot of guys are locked up in jail, and it's all because of drugs and alcohol. You know, and my father would say, he'd be so sweet. My mother, and it's all I'll say about that is that I told her one day, you know, just at an early age, you know, I looked at her and I'm like, listen, I looked at her and I was just thinking, I was like, you know what? She's trying to hurt me. She's trying, whatever she's doing, she won't stop. And I asked her to stop a million times. So to this day, I don't think about her at all. She's trying to hurt me. She's trying to, you know, physically hurt me and mentally hurt me. And I asked you to stop how many friggin' times? And you don't want to stop? You don't want to stop? Well, why don't you, you know, you want to hit, you're traumatizing your 3 children. You know, I have no feelings about her. My father, I love my father to death. I just feel bad that the alcohol come out, and it just, he was always still sweet and gentle and nice, great father to us. But I don't know why he had to do, you know, the violence and shit in front of us for all those years. It was it was terrible.
Sure, definitely. Well, kind of progressing along, obviously, like any other normal child, and you talk about this in the book on and off, about how certain things that you use or utilize, et cetera, kind of helped you cope with that zoo, so to speak, that was in your home. Obviously, of course, just like any other child, you had progressed along to school. Obviously, of course, you were the less than stellar student, which I'll let you talk about in just a moment. But one of the things that I wanted to ask you about was even though you would skip school on occasion and even though you weren't present there for everything, wasn't it sort of a means for you to escape? I mean, was it a solace for you in any way, being able to go to school, having interaction with other children, trying to lead somewhat of a
Well, the way it worked is, I was in the Bronx to age 9, you know, and my father had a near genius IQ, so school's easy for me. You know, very smart. Then we moved to Buffalo, New York, And man, the school system there, they drill you. Oh my God, it's unbelievable. It's great. But then you come back to New York, and oh my God, the schools are ridiculous. They're so, they're so, I don't want to say a bad word, so dumbed down. You know what I mean? To make people pass the classes.
Sure.
The schools are so dysfunctional. It was, I don't know how that worked, whatever like that. But the school was not an escape. What I would tell anybody is sense of humor is the escape. Me and my brothers, my two brothers, my younger, my older one, that we created our own little lives as they're going on. There's wars going on in the house, and we were laughing our asses off at some of the stuff we would do. We'd prank it. We'd be laughing. We stayed downstairs causing a war. We're upstairs, firing water guns at each other and throwing water balloons all over the place, and we're laughing. And we just gotta wait. We just gotta wait until my father finally, we gotta pull him off. He attacks her and chokes her. Or we don't want him to kill her, so we're waiting. We just wait for that moment. We can hear it. We're waiting for that, and in the book I described that one incident where it went silent. But I would tell anybody, sense of humor is, sense of humor is very important. Some people actually don't have a sense of humor.
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
It's funny to watch that blank face when you make a. But my sense of humor is unbelievable. So the guys I'm hanging around with, some of them didn't even know they had a sense of humor. They didn't even know.
Gotcha.
Me and my younger brother, we just, oh my God, we had so much fun. We had a core of guys. We just laughed. They were doing violent stuff and stealing and wrecking everything. We were still having fun, and you gotta have some fun. I mean, that's what I tell everybody.
Oh, without a doubt. Definitely. And to those of us who have never been to school in New York City, period, during that time frame, obviously, because this is back in the day. We're not talking about right now. So things have obviously changed. So obviously you went to the Bronx High School. So talk to a little bit about what's your average typical day. You show up at school, and it's not like your little academia, if you will, right? Because there's just nothing but madness, chaos, mugging of a teacher, apparently. So I hear. Give us a little glimpse in this classroom and how chaotic it was. And did anybody learn anything, or was it just a place of terror?
Well, the school system, most of the kids, they don't have any parenting. So even like today, there's no parenting. And it was like, I was, I'm white, I'm Italian, and my school, junior high school, 127 in the Bronx, it's mostly black or Hispanic, mostly black. So, and a lot of them, man, they don't have any parents to tell them what to do. The parents don't care. That's part of the black community's problem, man. Jesus Christ, I feel so bad for those guys. I guess what, man, I go to classes, we formed our own family. In 8th grade and 9th grade, I'll tell you the truth, we had our own family in our class. We go to 8 classes a day. We're all together. And, but the teachers, they couldn't really, they're helpless. 30, 40 kids in the class sometimes. And some of these guys are big. They're 6'1", 6'2", 6'3". You got guys left back. They're guys 16, 18 years old in my 8th grade class. And it's, they don't know how to control. They can't say anything. You got a big, huge guy in front of you. Right. What are you going to do? Yeah, so they would try their best. If if we liked the teacher, we would pay attention. If we didn't like you, you don't know how to handle us, they would pretty much let you, do whatever you want. We sit there in the class, sit there and bullshits, and the teacher just sit there and, I don't know, talk on the phone and write things on a piece of paper or whatever. That was like a few of the classes. Maybe, I don't know, half of them would be just a joke. And, 4 of them would be we'd pay attention and try to learn, and you can get some credits that way. But a lot of the guys, Jesus, man, just in the Bronx back then, it was just, if your parents don't give you any guidance, you're lost.
Sure.
That's all I'm saying.
Okay, that's why I'd like you to. We'll do the segue right into when you're talking about in terms of guidance and life, escape, etc. I want to talk about Tarzan. I know that sounds a little strange, folks, but yes, he does refer to him as Tarzan in the book. That was your best friend. As you call it, your escape from home chaos. That's what I call it, basically, is your kind of escape from things. Tell us a little bit about who he is, because obviously people don't understand the significance to him, and maybe tell me something about him that was kind of your saving grace, meaning back on it, you're like, if it wasn't for Tarzan, I wouldn't miss that.
I can exactly tell you who he was. His name was Brian, and when I was I lived in the Bronx Park section of the Bronx, and at a certain point, there's a lot of Italian guys around, and they want to make a name for themselves, and I got my two brothers. They're, my older brother, he can't fight. My younger brother, he could fight a little bit. I taught him. But at a certain point, they decided to, think that we were a target. And I literally took on the whole neighborhood by myself. I can, even at age 14 to 15, 16 years old, I can pretty much hit you with my right hand and break your face. I don't need to be so graphic, but at a certain age, I needed, they still think they got you surrounded, just like, it's a cowardly act. But, if they're listening to this, they're not going to be too happy, but they know the score. I went to night school, and I met this guy, Brian, I'm not going to say his last name, but his nickname was Tarzan.
Sure.
And he looked like a Tarzan. The guy was ripped from his shoulders. He looked like, and he had boxes on his stomach. He had an 8-pack. And this guy's knuckles were mangled. And we just hit it off right from the beginning of the time I saw him. And to tell you the truth, what happened is when I brought him back to the neighborhood, all these Italian guys, hey, what's up? They wanted to surround me. My friend Tarzan, guess what? He was my brother until the day he died. Guess what, man? They wanted no part of him. They saw him. Man, it wasn't the same anymore. You ain't got me surrounded no more. It was it said that he had to meet a life in jail and stuff, and it was crack epidemic hit, and it eventually killed him, and he didn't know what was happening. I would do cocaine and stuff, but when the crack came on, the crack is when anybody wants you to learn, if you do cocaine, it's crack is 10 times the high. And it only lasts 10, 15 minutes. Nobody knew when it happened. And I saw a neighborhood of nice people, working class people in Fordham Road section of the Bronx. I seen the whole neighborhood disappear within 6 months. People, women that were going to work every day, they, I don't know, they forbade them, they tried it. They were selling their TVs, letting people into their apartments, selling all their furniture. The kids became homeless. It was a disaster. But, Tarzan was, Jesus Christ, man, he was one of a kind. He was, people were, he was, I say he was a fighter. And if you look at, if he made a fist and look at his knuckles, it looked like a funny, mangled mountain range. Yeah, because he's punching people in his face their whole lives. And, he taught me, like at an age, he said one thing to me that I'll never forget. Because we had a confrontation with somebody, a few guys. And what I did is in the conversation, I tried to smooth it out. And I don't know if Brian had a problem with them, but he got me on a bus, and we were going back, leaving the situation, and he told me, he said, listen, man, he goes, you ever back off again, he goes, I'm gonna kick your ass. And don't ever back off in the Bronx. You never back off. Never take your beating. If you're gonna get killed, you're gonna get killed, whatever. But that's just the way. Even the people I write about in the book were all the same. I don't think anybody was afraid to die. We weren't. Just that's the way it is. I mean, you walk out the door every day. There were 2,000 murders a year in New York City. There was 2,200. At one point, over 2,200 murders in that small area in New York City. They think Chicago's bad. They think Chicago's bad. There's what did I say? It said in the past 8 years, 3,300 and something people been killed in the past 8 years. New York City, there was 2,200 in 1 year, I remember. But usually 2,000 or over. And Mr. Rudy Giuliani, is a hero to me. And anything that he's I call him like he's almost like a father figure to me. I only seen him from TV, but he actually stopped me from my crime wave, because he wasn't playing around. He said he couldn't arrest everybody. Mr. Giuliani. And now I was in a jail cell with, man, nobody gave you a sit down. It was so squished in there. All you could do was stand up. And it was like a can of sardines. They told him he could not, he wasn't going to be able to do it. He's going to overthrow the court system. That's exactly what he did. He locked up everybody. And it was great. It was the greatest thing for New York City. Rudy Giuliani is an American hero, and not everybody knows that story. Even though he arrested me, but he kicked my ass. Rudy Giuliani kicked my ass. Guess what, man? I say thank you, Mr. Giuliani, because he stopped me from probably getting killed.
Well, and the interesting thing that I noticed, and this is folks while reading the book, because I've now read it a few different times just to get a kind of sense of things, and I'm sure eventually I'll be doing a formal review of it, is your transition from the time that you're actually in the high school area and your experiences like we talked about with Tarzan, of course, and then you progress along and you finally get out of school at a certain point and you get to be about age 21 or so. You're kind of, at that point in time, one of the things I wanted to talk about, and he prefaces this in the book, is you had what you called a 3-week clock. Talk about the 3-week clock. You know what I'm talking about? You must.
Yeah. I'm a little bit. Yeah, I kind of like that's a little bit on the sensitive side. I wrote that.
Oh, okay. No. That's fine. We don't have to talk about that.
That was a little bit. Yeah, it's a little bit sensitive.
Another thing that I want to talk about, that's all part as you're growing up and aging and maturing during the course of this book. You start, and you're very candidly flat out say, you know what, I get into this very full-blown street life mentality, meaning by that not only is it a mentality, but it's a way of life. It's kind of like work, drink, drugs, etc. And there's kind of a pattern that goes on in the book here. I myself am curious, and I'm sure most of the listeners are too, at a certain point, after you're doing that, isn't there a sense of burnout, or did you ever look in the mirror and say to yourself, oh, my God, I can't get up this morning and hustle and drink or do drugs, and it wears out? I mean, did it ever get to that point where you're like, I'm just done?
No. What it was, I was working a bread route at night. And so, plus, you know, I was young and you get all this energy. Okay. Plus, when I came back, sometimes it's like, there's always something. Well, I'll tell you, where I was living in the Pelham Parkway area, and I'll mention my Bill and Ray, my home away from home, Bill and Ray's bar. It's, man, all you got to do is walk down the street. Sometimes there's between, I don't know, I know 50 to 100 guys. So someone's going to show up and it was always fun. And you're going to, and yeah, you work. I work at night. You know, I'll come back in the daytime, whatever like that. I go to sleep. I wake up at sometimes the party would go into the bread route. It's a bread route. I did it for like 13 years. And I'm not going to say the name, but the Franco brothers, the Larry, Vinny, and Mike, thank you very much for all the things you did for me. But there wasn't any, when you're young, it was, sometimes I would sleep 14 hours in a day. So then you get revitalized and you're young and it's so much fun. You don't want to stop. Sure. I really didn't feel a burnout thing. It was these guys come along, these characters I know. I write about them in the book, and they're going to write their own books. And, yeah, so it was just, it worked out really good. So get my sleep. You could wake up, you get revitalized, you go for a few days, and it worked. I don't know. I was able to get away with getting my sleep, and like you said before, sense of humor was incredible. You see on TV the guys, hustling, and everybody's a tough guy, whatever. You do that. I mean, everybody. I kind of look at that, and I'm like, that's where you get burned out. You want to be a tough guy 24 hours a day. That's where you get burned out. You gotta laugh. You gotta have some fun. My guys, they did so many funny things, man. It was even when we were committing crimes. It was, we'd be laughing our asses off. It was just fun. I couldn't put I couldn't ever put a price on it.
Well, and the other thing too is you combat some of these things in such the most clever way. He has made some choices, which we'll talk about because there's a few cute stories in there, a bunch, but I pinpointed a few of them. You kind of combat some of the chaos with the comedy, and it's kind of like he'll talk about this huge incident that happened. He'll be like, "Oh, I got to lay down everything," and he'll tell you this entire detailed story, and at the end he'll be like, the last two lines are like a big funny. So he's kind of parodying the whole thing, like, "Oh my God, this was awful, but just so you know, da 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 da." And I'll give a couple examples of that, of course. One of the other downsides I wanted to talk about, and you prefaced this more than one time, there were points and times where you were literally almost out on the streets with nowhere to go and nowhere to live. Is that not right? It kind of that's kind of a way to just shake down.
Yeah, but I always seem to find a way to find a home, but I'll tell anybody, man, Jesus Christ, man, the people look at the homeless people like they're nothing. There is, like, I'm not afraid of much in this life, but being homeless in the streets of New York City, that is just incredibly tough. It's incredibly hard on your mind and your body and your soul. Oh my God, I can't say enough about, people don't want to give them any money or anything or help them out. You know what I mean? I'll give you money, if you want to go buy drugs and escape for a little while, but some of them have nowhere to go. They got no family. They got cut off. It happened for a day or here or there for me. It's an incredibly horrible thing to be homeless. And this government is leaving these veterans out homeless. And that
right.
is just I'm not getting into politics, but sometimes they don't want to be around people, but they should always have whatever, set up these 10 cities or whatever they used to do in Rikers Island. They overcrowded, so they set up 10 cities. So set up 10 cities for the veterans. At least have a roof over their head and food to eat. They're very dysfunctional. They're the ones standing in front of the bullets for the politicians and all these people. I mean, at least put a roof over their head and give them food and, try to help them out.
Correct.
But the homelessness thing, believe me, I couldn't. But the one thing, the hygiene part of it, so maybe I did it for a day or so. The hygiene was scary. And when you take a shower, I get start stinking. Where you get your next meal from? When I was living, I lived in my brother's basement for I don't know how many years, 4 or 5 years, whatever. Well, he didn't help me out. Every once in a while he would. He was just the older brother. It's just a pain in the ass. So, hey man, I didn't care. I get my money on the street. I didn't have to hurt anybody. Maybe monetarily I did, but physically I never did anything like that. I never physically hurt anybody.
Gotcha.
Only if they, if they deserved it. I had to put that, sometimes I had jobs to do, and that was what I had. If you got to smack somebody, get something that you're working for. That's what you got to do. Mm-hmm. So that's the way it was.
Survival is basically what we would call it. We have our means of survival, and some things are necessary, obviously, which leads actually perfectly into my next question. I like to put it this way, and I've told you the same thing yourself. John has been involved in a potpourri of different independent contractor work, is what we call it. So tell me, out of all these different jobs that you chose, which one was your favorite and why?
Independent contract jobs. That's
you're like that. You're an independent contractor. Because I'm betting it wasn't I'm pretty sure it wasn't the sheriff tow lot. I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm pretty sure you're not going to say the sheriff.
Are you talking about like my Italian friends, like working for them?
Well,
like
it could be any of your independent contractor jobs, because I'm not quite sure how much of them you want to talk about.
Well, I've you know what? Sometimes like I don't even know. Sometimes you go where your friends are. I'm gonna mention a bar or whatever you're hanging out, and a guy here, a friend of mine, and he's got a guy over here, and somebody owes money. I mean, the guy, he's a degenerate gambler. He owes the guy $200, $300, $400, $500, And I wouldn't even know the guy's name. I know my friend's name, and I'm not asking anybody's name. I have friends of 30 years. I know their first name. I never bothered to ask their last name, or that's how that works with me.
Right.
I don't ask questions. So they go, hey, hey John, go around the corner, go to this address. There's a guy over here at this apartment. He owes me $500. You bet this or whatever. And he goes, go get the money. So and he's going to give me $100. Whatever he wants to give me. Go over there, you ask God for money. Sometimes he'll give it to you. So, and I'll let them know. I'll say, listen, man, I'll be back again. I think I would let them I'll give them 2 chances. I say, listen, the third time I have to come and see you. I'm not going to be a really nice guy. That's what I'll do. The first time I'll go, I'll be like, all right, be okay. And I'll come back again. I'll be listening. If I have to come back again, that's the way my collections. That's the way I collected. It's collecting money. I mean, it's usually the guys were degenerates, or if I saw they were never good guys. Is all I'll tell you. Everybody that you ever do that with, they're usually some sort of weaselly type of guy. They want to steal. They don't want to pay money, whatever. They owe somebody. They borrow money. So I don't think there's any problem with that. I'm just going to get money that if you borrow $1,000 of somebody, you have to pay them back. I mean, you can't just you want to say no. You're gonna have a problem then. So that's just the way. That's just the way. Sometimes you make money that way.
Sure. Then was that your favorite thing out of all these different tasks? All the because you've got
there's
how many jobs?
That what I usually do. What I usually do is I have my crew of friends. They're still around now, and all you got to do is walk down the street, see one of them, whatever, you need money.
Right.
And some of them are professional burglars. And all you have to do is stand next to them and follow them around. I mean, just be next to them and hang out with them. And I'll tell you, Cindy, guess what? You're making money. If you got the money on you, just in the Bronx, Bronx Parkway area, White Plains Road, that's what, Bronx Park. I had those 50 guys I knew. So when you're walking down the street, you're going to bump into somebody, and you just go, oh, hey, I got it. We're going to do this tonight, or going over here, and there's a lot of different ways to make it. It's not a large amount of money, but there's always a way. $50, $100, $200, whatever. That,
sure.
20, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, a couple $100 was, $200 that was decent. That was some good money. Now it's whatever. It's still all right, whatever. But back then you could survive for a while on $200, and you just bumped into a guy. He says, just look out for me while I do this. Stand on the corner, whatever. There's a lot of burglaries going on. All I'll say is the Bronx, New York City, was completely out of control. It was complete lawlessness, especially in the urban neighborhoods, bad neighborhoods. There was a friggin' war going on, with racially war going on. It was terrible. You know what I mean? It was just I would say it was just completely out of control. There was no police. No, there was no laws. That was just the way it was.
Well, and of course, obviously, you mentioned and talk a great deal about the crack epidemic during that time, and just the whole sense of lawlessness. And unfortunately, you can feel just a very big sense of no control whatsoever, kind of all hell breaking loose, for lack of a better term. And this is sort of the thing that you're living in. You kind of went from that sort of, not lawlessness at home, but just chaotic, abusive type of situation, and then you grow up, and then all of a sudden you're working the streets, and you're partying, and you're swindling, and you're doing all this stuff. I kind of get the sense that you have a real lack throughout the course of your life of any kind of long-term sort of, I can breathe, I can have 5 minutes to myself, have a sense of peace. You know what I mean? Have you found any of that now as a grown man, being 51 now? Is there some sort of sense of calm, quiet peace for you now?
Well, it's man, I hate to say it, but the laws now, I feel are if someone comes up to you and like back in my day, my whole life, my father told me two things. He said, respect older people and don't take any shit from anybody. So I'm brought up since I was 5 years old that way. But now the way things are, people can come up to you and say anything they want. People are sensitive. Like I tell anybody who's sensitive about their parents. The sister comes up to you and says something about your parents, about your mother. I mean, you're supposed to be able to take that and walk away. I'm sorry, I can't. That's I've had they put the handcuffs on me, invisible handcuffs, but it's been in the past 10 years they changed all those laws, whatever. But it's a very difficult thing to change from the way I used to be. Up until by age 40, now 51. Even to right now, at this moment, right now we're talking. It's very difficult to walk out the door and listen to somebody maybe say something abrasive to me. My way, 5 years old, and there'd be fights within 1 second. 1 second. 204th Street in the Bronx, by Gun Hill Road, and I went to PS 56. I've now literally fought every single day. There's a fight every day. All day, you can't go around talking back to people that way. Now living upstate New York, and people talking to each other, talk trash like it's just I don't understand. It doesn't. I can't change I guess I can't change my clothes. I'm older, but it's not working. I don't think in society, in my opinion, it doesn't work. It's not going to work.
Well, and obviously, of course, one of the other things that we talk about, and of course, we live in a day and age now, especially in 2016, the level of terrorism has increased, the level of violence has increased, etc. One of the things that I noticed that was predominant about your book is what I call it, the repeated dance with the Grim Reaper. You kind of dance with death on a number of different occasions. So I think it's important for you to maybe highlight to our audience one time where you were so close to danger that you thought, this is it, I'm a dead man. And so they realized this isn't just drama TV, this is real life. I could have died right then and there in that moment. And tell us about the incident, and tell us about just really how frighteningly scary that is. I mean, what's going through your head?
The one thing I'll say, 25, when things happened, whatever, and I just made a decision to go to the streets real hardcore and just do my thing and let the chips fall where they may. If I die, I die. I wasn't afraid. It's hard. I maybe can relate to it, but I wasn't afraid to die. I figured, I guess me and my crew, we all figured we were going to die anyways. So we're not afraid. Right. It's going to happen. It's like we were 100% of it's going to happen. We're seeing it all around us. There's 2,000 murders a year. There's fights everywhere you go. It's like the wild, wild west. So I figured I'm going to die anyway. So like I read in the book, you might as well have some fun doing it. But the one instance where in the book the guy put a gun in the back of my head, I was doing the bread route. I was done. I was trying to pick up some drugs in a hallway. I knew the guy, but there was another guy there, and he stuck me up, and I know the drill. I mean, I'm not gonna give any problems. I can always make money again. I just put my hands in the air, but I could see him out of the right corner of my eye. The light was, lights behind us, and I could see him, he took my beeper and $90 in cash or whatever. It's fine. I said, take what you want. If I had gold chains on, take them. I would tell anybody to do that. Just go ahead, take them. You know what I mean? But I had seen him. I saw his face when I walked in. And guys don't like to leave a witness. So as I turned my arm, I could see the light. Like I'm looking at my right eye. At the corner, I could see his shadow, and I saw the gun come to my head. He took the gun from his waist. I could see the shadow pointed at the back of my head, and then I was like, this is it. I was like, you kind of almost smirk. You kind of almost smirk. You're waiting for this, and it's almost going to happen. And I guess maybe I must have, he said, just get the hell out, whatever. And I walked down a couple stairs, and I walked down another few stairs, and I don't even remember that because I know there was like 2, 3. It's in the East Tremont area of the Bronx. But what woke me up out of it is I saw the work van. And I saw it, the Franco brothers on the side of the van. And I woke up out of it, And I was like, oh, it's because I was 100% sure that I was going to die and I was going to fall to the ground. The lights go out. I always thought that was the way to go. The lights go out and you fall to the ground. You'll never know what hit you. The lights just go out. That's the way it works. So, but I felt that I saw suddenly still alive. And it's funny, you know, your knees, they say the knees buckle or whatever when people get scared, whatever. You know, you see the movies or whatever, you hear about stuff like that. It I don't know. It just did. It did happen. It wasn't like I fell down or anything, but I did actually get weak, and I felt that little trembling in my legs, and my legs got like when you saw the van, and then I realized what had happened. I believed that I had died 5 seconds ago, and I was alive. It was very surreal, and my knees actually did. I didn't fall. I just did like maybe a half a second, but it did. It was like a shock to your system. And
right.
that's not, yeah, if you want to watch movies and see all this stuff, and people, it doesn't work like that. They don't just, people in the movies, whatever, hey, they shoot and they get beat up and then they're normal and they walk away. It does not work like that. It doesn't. You get traumatized enough, it's gonna affect you. You're gonna be paranoid and you're gonna be, you know, you hear noises and stuff and sometimes you can't sleep, but it's, you know, it's different for different people. Some people can handle it. Most can't.
Well, and the other big question is, of course, too, do you find yourself still looking behind your back all the time? Are you petrified somehow that your past is going to catch up with you?
I live in a different area. I'm 50 miles from the Bronx. So, but yes, it still affects me. I can't have people behind me. You know, it's paranoid. Anybody, you know, the way I did it for so long, I didn't do any real hard time in jail. The most was 3 weeks at Rikers Island, and I've been arrested. I don't know. You do 3 days in jail, it doesn't bother you. There's all kinds of shit going on there, whatever. But but you're always watching. You're constantly in the Bronx. You're constantly watching over your shoulder. Of people trying to hurt you, and they'll do it. They do it from behind you. There's a game, you know. It's a they have tactics they use. One of them is a shock tactic. Like most people, if they haven't been jumped or whatever, is they, you know, if you suddenly get hit, if you're not expecting it and you suddenly get hit, it paralyzes you. You go into like a small state of shock, like you'll freeze. Even if you're Muhammad Ali or whatever, I don't know. I would still think even Mike Tyson admits whenever he stepped into the ring, man, it's quoted by him, he goes, anybody that says they're not scared when they're walking toward that ring is a liar. Oh, that's from Mike Tyson, and Mike Tyson put his hand through a concrete wall. But it's all, you know, yeah, so to this day, being paranoid and stuff, I'm safe. It's been years. The crack epidemic's been over for whatever, a long time. That was just, it only lasts 15 minutes where guys are just stealing and, oh my God, uncontrollable behavior everywhere. Right. There's so many crackheads, so many women prostituting themselves. It was just a, you know, usually, you know, real life America doesn't know about urban neighborhoods and stuff like that. But man, it was dangerous. Everybody's just, you never know when it's coming. Because I don't know if the guy just got off crack high. Or even though, you know, heroin, now it's heroin. I mean, they'll do anything to get it.
Right.
They'll kill you. Some guys, I mean, there's people that have 10 bodies that there's 10 people they've killed. And believe me, if they shoot me, if they had shot me, it's no big deal. The people were scooping up, the police were scooping up so many people. EMS workers were quitting because they were having nightmares. They were having nightmares about all the dead bodies that they're picking up. So I was like, to say, you know, so when you're there, back in the day, I expected it. I didn't expect to live this long. You know, 20 years ago I could have wrote a book. Now I got even more experiences since then. So it's I'm just fortunate, and so are my friends. They're damaged goods. We're all damaged in our own way, but they're all very tough and resourceful, and they all made their way. Some of them, a lot of guys are dead, but there's still my main core guys. We're still around here or there, whatever. But it affects you later on in life. People think it's some sort of it's easy to do. Hey, you're gonna go on the street, you're gonna do this, you're gonna do that. Hey, I'll tell you, it's gonna affect you. You're gonna be paranoid. Sure. You're gonna be loud noises. It's gonna affect you later on in life.
Of course, without a doubt. Which brings us to the point in time where we want to talk about other two things, of course, the comedy being one of them, because I have certain instances I want to talk about, and I think Jen already knows the ones that I like that are my favorite, which we'll talk about. But first, before we get to that, you always have to get to the babes, because let's face it, I don't know how many of you have actually looked at John's photo, but he's not exactly unattractive, which means I'm sure at this point in his life he's attracted, I don't know, at least 2 or 3 girls. There are two that you talk about in the book, and I'll leave you the choice to pick either Carmen or Sylvia. You can talk about either or. Both of them seem somewhat remotely similar in that they both seemed extremely astute, very smart, very strong women. Obviously, of course, you tend to gravitate, from what I gather in the book, to addictive personalities. Talk to me a little bit about which one. You can pick either one.
I'll pick Carmen. I picked Carmen because I'm still in touch with her.
Right.
And that was sad thing, because she had she's just, when I met her, she was beautiful Puerto Rican, 5 foot. I think she's 5'9", tall. She used to be a gymnast. She was extremely smart, A student. Went for oh my gosh, she was in the Air Force. She was a drill sergeant in the Air Force. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, extremely tough. She knew karate, and I don't know if she could beat me or not to this day. She still might be able to, but that was a sad situation, because she, we actually the crack epidemic just hit around like 1985. I just had met her, and man, this beautiful Puerto Rican that shows. She was married, and the guy was in jail. I won't talk too much about that. That could still be a problem to this day. But I tried to save her. I mean, she was perfect. My mother had died. Was it my mother? No, my mother hadn't been dead. My mother hadn't died yet. But what happened is she was just perfect for every situation we needed. I mean, my brothers and my father. And what happened is the crack just ruined it. The crack cocaine just ruined the whole situation. She could handle anything, and ended up, nobody realized it back then, 1985, 86. Nobody knew. Everybody do cocaine and drinking and stuff. It's all party. You run out of drugs. You can handle it, but not crack. Crack's like an adrenaline. Like, you want to get the next one, to do anything to get it. You'll take anything, and it blew up the whole situation. And Carmen, what I'll say about it is that she's now a drug counselor. She's been a drug counselor for, I think, between over 10 years now. And she's very tough. And she'll tell you also, too, that all the people that she hung out with, all these beautiful women in the Bronx, they didn't know either what crack was. And they're all gone now. We're talking about a lot. Talking about hundreds. I wouldn't know the exact number. Only the city would know. But there was a lot of beautiful women. Turn them on to that stuff. They could control them, and it's really sad. But somebody like Carmen, she had a military background, and she survived, and she'll thank the military background because of that. So maybe I'm condoning. If you're lost in life, you're young. I would join the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, Marines. Try to get involved in law enforcement, correction officer. There's things to do. Not just go on the street, get away from your bad situation, and try to get yourself disciplined to do, when you're out of control, you get yourself disciplined, and you can make a life for yourself.
Well, and the bigger question being, as I'm listening to you discuss this relationship, and of course, obviously, Carmen's moved on to a better place, so have you, obviously. But I have to wonder, is it challenging for you in terms of, or even for her, when you not only having a relationship back then because of all the obstacles that were going on, especially when there's that drug relative stuff, but because of the things you've lived through, and parts of your life, are relationships and solidifying relationships and keeping them healthy a challenge for you?
With me and Carmen now?
Or you in general, actually, because obviously you can't kind of walk away from some of these circumstances, and sometimes it must be challenging to have a healthy relationship because there are things you're living with to this day.
I was always, I spoke to you, I was always a nice guy, even when I was in the street. I always stayed true to myself. I mean, if you gotta make money, you gotta make money. You gotta do certain things. You know what I mean? It's like I said, I made it fun. I mean, my guys, man, if it was all serious and like some of these, like, we actually see other guys in the Bronx and they'd be all serious with each other. I mean, we'd laugh at them.
Right.
We were having a blast, even though stealing and not. My crew was tough as Jesus Christ. The guys you're reading about in this book, toughest dude, vicious fighters, whatever. Nobody played with us, so we were able to survive that way. But having relationships is I don't know, man. You guys gotta be you gotta think. You just gotta think a lot. You gotta be grounded. You can't like I said, I never let streets beat me. I never became that guy. I wasn't. I had to make money, but it didn't take me over. You know what I mean? And the guys that are surviving, they all have. I'll tell you one thing. All right, put it this way. I'll say there's three things in life for anybody you gotta have. You gotta be smart and you gotta have a great sense of humor. If you have those three qualities, you're gonna be okay. If you're smart, tough, sense of humor, you're gonna be okay. If you're missing one of them, then it gets cloudy. I've seen it over and over and over again. And my guys, like I said, it was like all lightning strikes, man. It was just, I got these cool guys, man. It was just unbelievable. We had the time of your life. Movies couldn't even portray it. Maybe one day that'll happen, but it was just so much fun. Even doing bad things, they made it fun. We always laughed.
Well, and as John just said to me the other day, because we were in conversation, and the Goodfellas thing that we were prefacing at the very end, where the guy is like, "Now I'm just an average, ordinary schmuck," and that's the sense I get from John, is that John kind of misses some parts of the life, or some parts of the life that you used to lead.
Yeah, I was telling you like the other day. It's for me, man, it was if you can get. Like, man, it would be like a dream come true. If you can get those, like, there's like the cool guys, if you can get them all like in one spot, it was like electric, man. It was like you had so many guys with different characters, and we were all had our, all smart and tough. I used to watch it, and I could feel it. Sometimes they didn't realize what was going on, but I was able to sit back and watch them and just, watch the show. And it was just hilarious, man. It's but it is now. It's like you meet people and stuff, and it's boring. Life's a little bit boring, but I know I can't ever go back. Just you'll die, but I'm not. It's different now. You want to live, but back then I was totally just free. I didn't care if I lived or died. I had death wish, whatever, and so did my crew. We all thought we were gonna, die at some point. It's my brother Brian, Tarzan, whatever. He actually knew he wasn't gonna make it. He was pushing his luck so hard. He was just pushing. He actually told me one day we're down by Yankee Stadium. He actually said it to me. He goes, "Just take care of my two sisters, and they're still around and." They know they could always call me, and I always be there for them. That's all he asked for. He said, if I go, he knew he was going to get it sooner or later because he was for what he was doing, and I lived up to my promise. They're doing fine, both of them, and they know they all they do is make a phone call to me, and I'll take care of business.
Of course, obviously, I gather. Now, we get on to the really cute part, which is the funny part. And I'm going to ask you to tell everybody the first story, which is my favorite story, which is tell them about the salt. I like the soap
What is
story.
it? Which part?
The soap story. Remember the soap story? There's a story in there.
Oh, that's just carrying the cases of soap.
Yes, I love that story.
Yeah, there was a where I was living with my ex-girlfriend Sylvia. You know, it was on it was trying to not say locations, whatever, but what happened is there was a pimp in the neighborhood. Sal, you know, I'm not saying his name is Sal.
Sure.
Sal in the book. Sal was a pimp. When you're 50, 60 years old, he was the guy you go see if you want to go, you know, pop your cherry, whatever like that. You go see Sal.
Right.
He moves from place to place. He was a famous guy, like for young guys. Hey, go see Sal, and boom. But he actually was right around the corner from where me and Sylvia were living. So there was one day, you know, she was going to that little, you know, store they had there. It was on Bronxdale Avenue in the Bronx. And it was you know, she go in one day, she came back, and what happened is we both weren't doing very well. And she was borrowing money and the rent was this, and it got to the point where we couldn't pay anymore. And she had been at that store, and the guy had offered her a little bit of a escort prostitution offer. But she's a beautiful woman, you know, she's beautiful. And she came back in the door, you know, panicking, going, he goes, because she had offered it before. And she goes, I'm going to do it. And I just said, no, you're not. I said, no, forget about it. I said, listen, I'll go on the street tonight, and I'll go make the money. So what you do is you dress all, what I used to do is, you dress all up in black sneakers, black pants, black shirt, black hood, black hat, whatever like that. And you go out and you get up 1 o'clock, 1:30 in the morning, and you get out that door, and you go make the money. You get it wherever you can, wherever you see. Just walk around and see an opportunity. And I saw this. I hope the guy's not still around, whatever. But I saw a van there. It was covered with a tarpaulin. There was cases of soap. And I broke into the truck, and I pulled the tarp back. It was the cases, they were pretty heavy. 72 bars of soap in a case, I think. So I needed that. I know I could get at least $10, $15 a piece for those. I got plenty of guys to buy them. So what I did is I had to guarantee that I make that money that night. I don't want my girlfriend prostituting herself. I got to get that money. So, and I had a van, but if you pull the van up next to the truck, you know, next to the other van, and you're loading it, and the cops come along when the guy comes out, you know what I mean? They got a license plate, they got things, so I had to figure out a smart way to do it. So guess what? I just 2 or 3 cages at a time, and I carried them around the block, and I put them by a garage door. You know, like where, you know, the guy couldn't, man, I think it was a whole entire block. Talking about in the Bronx, like, I think I walked the whole, like, it was by a garage door where no one could see. So even if the cops came, I could run. You know what I mean? But, and, you know, they're not going to know where those cases so, you know, are. They're not going to catch me anyways. They can't catch me. I jump over fences, whatever I got to do. So when they don't catch me, I'll just come back. So every case I took, $10, $10, $15, whatever. If I only get 10, the rent was $100 a week. So I know I needed 10 or 8 or 7. I can get more money out of people if I want. But I ended up with 23. I carried 23 cases of soap. I don't know, 2, 3 at a time. Back then I was pretty strong. People coming home out of there, you know, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning from a club, and they're watching this guy walking down the block with 2, 3 cases of soap piled up into my face, and I'm walking down the block, you know, like an Egyptian building a pyramid. And I put him by the garage, and like I knew I had enough plus extra, and I just walked home. And I got my van. I came back to the garage. I threw them all in the van. And then you just go around the neighborhood with family members, whatever. Hey, that's 72 bars of soap. Hey, man, that's even back then, it's $1 or 50 cents or $1 a piece. You know, you gotta get rid of them quick. So I was dripping. I must have lost about an hour. I was dripping in sweat. It must have been hilarious for the people watching me walking up and down the block with a case of soap. Sure. Also, I did that when I took the the lights off the neighborhood cop car. I right in there too. I stole the headlights off the cop car. So
Right.
you gotta do it. You gotta do what you gotta do. That was pretty funny too, because that thing's like 6 feet long and about a foot wide, big giant thing. I'm walking down the street with this big giant 6 foot. It looked like I was carrying a dead corpse, in rigor mortis, straight on my arms like that, sticking up in the air. I did that 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. It was, I put that in the book. I thought that was a funny story.
Oh my God, yes. That's like one of my all-time favorite stories. And the other one that I wanted you to talk about, I won't do the Sinatra one because we have talked about the Sinatra one. So folks, you can read Frank Sinatra's preface in the book, and I won't give that away, but obviously in there. One of the things that you talk about in there, which I found rather interesting, well, we can either talk about, there was one or two that I pinpointed. The beer, remember the beer with the van and the beer story?
We ripped off we stole a whole entire beer truck, a fully packed.
I was shocked by that. I'm like, how did they do that?
Well, we had I had a friend of mine. I can't say his name because he doesn't like his name said.
Sure.
And we used to go to this place on Gun Hill Road in the Bronx, a beer distributor, and he would go in the back. He's 6'3", 240 pounds.
Sure.
And, he would get in there, and what he would do, he'd take 20 cases, 25 cases at a time. And he could reach up to the top of the fence, just hand them, he'd break it to the trucks, and he would hand me the cases over the trucks. But then one of my friends get the bright idea to go steal the whole entire truck. So they got boat clippers, they cut the fence, and they took the whole entire beer truck, all 10 sides, I don't know how many sides on each of those. Man, it was like $30,000 worth of beer. Like 20,
sure.
I think it was 25 years ago. And the whole thing was full. They stole the whole entire beer truck and they went to the neighborhood. But with me, if I'm taking stuff, it's business. It's not, it's not, you got to keep your head on your shoulders, keep the drinking and throwing. And these guys weren't taking it seriously. And they were throwing beers all over the place and handing out cases of beer and all this stuff. And it was a blast. They were having a blast. I wasn't there. I didn't know they went behind my back and kind of did it because they knew about it. And they come to me, hey, we took the whole beer truck, blah, 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 and they're laughing. I'm like, took them 2 shots to get my attention. I came back with my van. And I said, listen, I'm going to load up the van. I'm leaving. And my brother and 15 guys are running around the neighborhood. Everybody's sweating. They're laughing. They're on drugs. It was hilarious. If someone had videotape of that, please show it to somebody because everybody will laugh their ass off. But it got out of control, and then by the time there was a moment where I ended up getting caught up in the laughter and the fun of it, and I'm carrying cases to my friend's garage, and at one point I turn around and bump into somebody. I think I'm bumping into guys all over the place, but I bump into somebody, and it's a lady wearing high heels and a dress, and we were all so out of it, we're so involved, we're laughing and this. And I look at her, and guess what? It's a lady, and I'm realizing within a second or two, she's on her way to work, because I know the train station's right there. And I look up and I go, oh shit, the sunrise is coming up. I was like, guys, I'm yelling at them, guys, stop, come on. And man, it was like talking to a wall. They're just laughing and running, and like, come on, we got it. We filled up almost, it was a 2-car garage. We had almost one side of it, like maybe about 2-car garage. About a quarter of it, about 25. A quarter of it was we had it all piled up. There were cases of beer falling all over the street, but I remember I piled up like 30 cases of Miller beer. They fell over, and it was like a the Miller beer river flowing down the street. It was friggin' hilarious. Like, whoops, there it goes. Oh, I got to say, it was like Miller beer. Woo! It's like the Coors Mountain, but it came to life. But but then it got then the cops show up. My caisson tried to talk him out of it, which took I didn't think he was gonna try that one. He was trying to say we had a party, or whatever he was telling him. He just came in the backyard. He said we're in trouble. Everybody just started flying over fences and jumping through bushes, and the cops, I was gone too, but I had to come back from my van, My van was there, and
Right.
I had about, I don't know, 12 or 13 cases of Heineken in there. And I was, you know what, man, I was trying to lift up a keg. The kegs.
Oh.
I don't know if anybody's tried to lift up a keg before.
Oh my God.
I was trying to build back then. I couldn't do it. I couldn't lift it. I could get it moved, like up, but it's very hard to get it into a van. The van's like 2 feet high. Yeah, it's very. You're gonna need a friggin' a lift gate or something to get it up. And I was asking for help. Hey guys, let me get the kegs in there. And dudes are just they look like a bunch of bobbleheads. They're running back and forth. Their heads are bobbing around. I'm like, my brother was like, you know, everybody's just, they're laughing as they're doing it, but it's business. And, you know, I ended up getting caught with a couple of the other guys, and I wrote the story of Paulie in there trying to get out of the car, the police car. He was banging his head against the police car window. And I was like, what's this guy doing? And he was trying to break the window with his head.
Right.
He's sitting to my left, and because they didn't see him. They didn't see him there. So he's very smart. Paulie's very smart. At the end of the book, I write some stuff about him. And he's smart. He knows the laws. So did I. I studied the New York State Penal Code. I tried to become a correctional officer and a court officer. So that's how you learn the laws. It's I don't want to give any like criminals with criminal ideas, but it's good to know that. It's good to know those. It's good to know those laws over there. You break it down in simple ways.
That's exactly right.
But,
yes.
Yeah, but Paul tried to break but it was funny. He ended up getting the handle on the door. He pulled it up. It looked hilarious. He got out of the police car, started running down the street with his handcuffs behind his back. They caught him right away. They shoved him back in the car. It was pretty. All I said, man, you're busted. You're busted. You're still laughing, man. You're still. We almost got killed at the end of the book. I think the last story in the book. You almost get killed with Paulie. People, you know.
Right.
We took on at least 10 guys, eight or 10 guys. Me and Paulie fought. And you know, they tried to kill us. They hit us with hammers. They hit me in the head with hammers. You know, that kind of made my hearing loss to this day. I have tinnitus. Right. Like when you get hit in the head, you hear the ringing. But we fought. I'll fight. Me and Paulie could fight 8 guys. Paulie can knock down, so can I, man. You're only gonna take one shot, and your head, you know, you make your head explode. So we know that, but we couldn't fight when we were drunk and high on angel dust. Right. So it didn't end up good. When you read the book, you'll see it. But it was still funny though.
Yes. Now, on the personal side of things, I have 2 questions for you before we get to the business side of things. For those of you that don't know John or you've never looked at him, and if you take a perusal of him, find him on social media, etc., you'll see that he has this ginormica, is what I call it, tattoo, and it's a bull, right? Is that correct? It's a bull on your arm?
Yeah.
Okay, I wanted to ask you if you... Oh, okay. See, I thought you had that tattoo because it reminded you of your father. That was just a guess. That's why I was asking. Okay.
I'm born in April. My sign is well, there's a funny story behind it. I'll make it real quick. It's a great story. One of the guys, Bobby, he's deceased now. He bought his own tattoo kit, but Bobby's been known, you know, he's doing a bad heroin habit, and believe me, he really good looking guy. Oh my God, he was getting a lot of action, is all I'll say. A lot. More than celebrities do. He's a very smooth guy. And he's doing his own he starts giving people tattoos. What would happen is he was giving himself tattoos. He was a little considerate. Like he's a very very tough guy, you know, unconscionable in his own way, but also a very sweet guy. Very nice guy. Yeah, he's very a man of Bobby was a person of character. He really was. It's sorry that he's gone. You know, to get him on the radio now, you'd have a laugh. But he was tattooing himself, his legs, his arms, his neck. So I happened to walk in there one day, and I just said, I said, Bobby, you know what? Because he didn't want to mess anybody's tattoo up, so he didn't want to, tattoo anybody yet. So you know what? Go ahead, you can do my arm, all right? So you know what he did? He goes, all right, Johnny, I'm going to be the guinea pig now of this. He can make a mess out of my arm. But I was like, it's just one of those things. You know what I mean? It's I'm spontaneous. So, you know, I can always fix it. I got a couple guys that can fix it. You know what he did? He took a magazine and he threw a couple magazines, 2 or 3 magazines in front of me. You know, they're like I don't know, whatever, man. I had cartoon stuff in there, whatever. I forget the names of them. There's some magazines in front of me. He goes, John, pick out something. Man, I don't know. I was thinking I was gonna have the Road Runner or Bugs Bunny on my arm or some stupid looking thing on my arm. I was like scared, but I was also, you know, also it was great timing. What he did is he goes, John, I gotta go downstairs, and he had to go pick up more of his drugs. So that was, you know what, it ended up being perfect because, you know, what I did is I went and he had his needle kit there. I took the needle kit and playing around in the neighborhood and he's doing dope and that needle's in him. That's not a good idea. So I took the needle and I actually, I took the lighter to it at first. I was trying to put the lighter to it and I actually turned the stove on and I put it above the stove to make sure I sterilized anything that's in there. There's AIDS. That's back then during the AIDS epidemic. You know, I mean, you know, I'm not getting AIDS from people catch the AIDS from the tattoo. It's a blood transfusion thing, whatever.
I know.
Yeah, so I took it and I put it above the stove, and it was gone for about 10 minutes, and I got lucky. That picture that you see of my arm with the ball with the arms crossed, like I say, there's a lot of coincidence in my life, whatever. That was lucky, man. That was in the magazine. He traced it, and he put it on my arm, and he drew the outline, whatever, and I had another, and he did it. You know, it was, you know, I mean, it's a perfect tattoo. It was just like, if I had to come up with a perfect tattoo, like that, my sign is Taurus the bull, and that's my personality. So it kind of worked out. Like sometimes things in life, I had a lot of fortunate moments to even survive to this day, and I wouldn't recommend this street life to anybody. So, you know, I don't know, maybe I was just meant to be around, maybe to do your radio show and try to teach, maybe it'll affect somebody. Maybe some knucklehead, he'll wake up out of his coma thinking the movies and video games are real. That video games, I wouldn't let, if I had kids, I don't have any kids, I wouldn't let my kid play video games. That's clouding the reality and fantasy. These kids don't know. Their line is cloudy for them. So I wouldn't recommend video games for anybody. It's maybe once in a while, but not all day like they do.
No, I know exactly what you're talking about, seeing as how I have 2 little ones at home. And before I forget to mention, everybody, when you're looking up John after this interview, take a quick peek, because this is what I find so funny. Here we got Gangster Guy on my radio show right now, talking about all this different stuff that he's done, etc. Ask me what the number one thing you're going to find on his Facebook page is. Pets. Animals. This is what he posts. He doesn't post all sorts of tough guy stuff. He's got animals on his page. And the first time I talked to him, I'm like, oh my gosh.
Man.
He loves animals, and he's a nice guy. According to him, he's like, I'm such a nice guy. Read the book, then try telling me. I'm such a nice guy, Cindy, though. I'm such a nice guy. Read the book.
I can turn, it's just a switch that you do. I mean, it's, that's the way I was. I like to have fun and joke around with guys. Then you got to go to a certain situation, you go to the bar, hanging out with the fellas, and you got to do things. You switch it. You switch that guy off and you turn it to somebody else, and that's how you do it. But I wasn't. I don't know. I always stayed kind. I'll give the shirt off my back to anybody. I see homeless people on the streets. I feel compassion for them. I don't care if you're using drugs or whatever, man. I'll still, if I got change or $1 in my pocket, I'll give it to you. If I can say something to help you, I will. It's a cool world, but I love animals. And my dream is to have some land and get some bunch of dogs and cats and all kinds of things running around. That would be fun. That'd be a dream.
It'll be kind of like the Marlon Brando Godfather thing, where all of a sudden, or where what is it, Godfather 2, I think it is, where Al Pacino's lying in the country and he's got the cat roaming around and the animals and such. I can just envision it right now. Only John's a little big and a little scarier. Thanks.
If they go on my Facebook page, you'll see I'll recommend the dog to anybody. It's a white West Highland Terrier, and I have to pay homage to my little furry guy, OJ. I can't even think about him at all. I'm not in for 1 second because I'll get very emotional. I can't think about him. But all I'll say is that he saved my life, and I owe him my life, a little guy, because he kept me going. He always made me happy, and things went on later on. I only wrote the book up to age 35, so if this one works out great, I'll write up until there's more action and shit that happens. But
that was actually, you picked my last question. My last question is, I want you to tell everybody, before I go through all the ways to find you, your book, etc., tell everybody what the future plan is in terms of, is the book going into a movie? How many more books are we going to see? And further, is there a plan for people to actually meet you in person? Because it's a very captivating story. I assume they're going to want to see the man in person.
Well, there's I have a couple people. The book, what happened is it's just starting. The paperback just came out, so now people are just getting the paperback in their hands. And I've gotten a following on the Facebook and the Twitter, all over the world. Right. I like Twitter. You get pictures from all over the world. I post them on my Facebook. I find it fascinating because they're in Belgium and Russia, and they're taking pictures of things, and you get to see them. So you don't have to get on a plane and travel. But I'm just starting this out. This is people have been asking me to do this for 20 years. 20 years ago, I probably could have wrote a book. People are asking me to do it. They go, this guy should write a book. So it actually became, and I want to thank my cousin who did the cover. His name is Chris McGrath. He's a cover artist, and he's incredible. Just an incredible person. He's just really nice. Yeah, it's rare to meet just a genuinely nice person anymore. So I just say, I recommend him. He's just a great guy, and he helped guide me through the whole book process. You go down the wrong road sometime. You need to make a phone call and go down the right road, and he helped me out a lot with that. And my goal is to make, I was on the streets for a long time. You're not on the books working, and I'm trying to make some, and I'll say it point blank, I'm trying to make some money off of it, and I'm trying to, this isn't just my book. It's also, there's my 3 guys in there, Paulie, Kason, and Sammy. And without those guys and the other guys in my crew, there wouldn't be a book. There wouldn't be me. So it's all dedicated to them. There really wouldn't be, because you gotta have help when you're in the Bronx. You gotta form a bond, and they're I consider them brothers. It doesn't matter about the blood too seriously. And the people who want to, they think, because you're my cousin, I have to do this, or you're my brother. Guess what, man? If you do the wrong thing and you try to hurt me, guess what? That stuff's all out the window. I don't care. People take that, you're my brother, you're my family. I don't believe in that. I really don't. If you try to hurt me and you're not on my side, you're not on my team, you're guess what? You're on the opposite team. You get out of here.
Of course.
Get out of my life.
Sure.
That is exactly what people take it to. I'd rather be. It's there's only have a few guys left I keep in touch with. That's fine by me. But the book is. I also want to help out my friends with this thing, and maybe we can. I will, and I definitely will. You can mark my words. I will. And the book is dedicated to them, and it's all it's my travels here and there, and I couldn't write a lot of things, but the book is a book dedicated to them, and it was without them there wouldn't even be a book. So it's kind of my goal. Movies or whatever. Let's see what happens. I'm hoping for that.
Yes. Now we are down. I have 2 things that I have to do. I only have 8 minutes before they're going to cut me off since I have my 2-hour length. And I can actually, now that I've worked all day and spent my entire morning with you, I can go off to the fair and get fat and ugly and eat all sorts of food that's not good for me, have some great wine that's wonderful, and make a fool out of myself. There's 2 things that we do at the end of every show that I do, which is, first of all, just to let everybody know, Before I forget, because this is the most important part, in order to find John, he is on Facebook, and I'll spell his last name for you. It's Pasquale, just so you know. So when you look in Facebook, you'll be able to type it in. You'll be able. It says Bronx Zoo right next to his name, of course. Twitter, he's got a handle which is @ and it's again Pasquale0022. His Instagram, John _ same last name, Pasquale22. And of course, the book itself is on Amazon.com. Before I forget, the very last thing that I do on my show, and I don't think I told you this before you called in and signed up for this. I take the last few minutes of my show to tell the person on my show what I think of him. So I get the opportunity to do this. So before I wrap it up and I do that, want to not forget the most important thing. The name of the book is Bronx Park East, Chaos, Insanity, and Tragedy. Just type in Amazon.com, type that in, or type John's name in. You'll be able to find the book. You'll be able to get it in a Kindle version or actual book itself. So since we're down the last 5 minutes, you just need to shut up and you need to listen. And I want to get this on air, and I could have told you this off air, but it's important that everybody that's listening in hear this. So these are my impressions of what I call my John, and I only say that because, of course, he called me my Cindy the other day, and it was the cutest little thing. And when you grow to have a kinship with another human being, as I told everybody at the start of the show, I met him on Facebook. I saw he was an author. He was from New York. It sold me right then and there. This is what I know about John to be true, and this is what I've discovered, and I hope and pray that God graces me another 20 years to get to know this man better and see him in person. Now let me tell you why. There's an Instagram posting that I've put up a long time ago, which is some of the most creative people come from a life of chaos and a life of being in environments that are destructive or deadly. The man that's on the other end of this phone is one of many that I know that are survivors, and I mean survivors in the best way. They do not walk around with jagged edges 24/7. He's risen above his circumstances. He has become an individual who is fraught with all sorts of things, funny, smiling, empathetic, courageous, interesting, intriguing. Every conversation I have with him leaves me with a smile on my face, not because he was a gangster, not because he was from the street, but because the inside of his soul gravitates to mine in such a way that I find him captivating. He can charm an audience. He can charm me. He's intelligent. His work is captivating, not just because it's about old street life, but because it's about a man who's enveloped and learned who he was, where he came from, why he came from there, and how he turned out to be the way he is today. He made me cry. He made me laugh. He still makes me cry, and he still makes me laugh. I adore him, and I admire him, because he's just John to me. He's not a gangster. He's not a hood. I go to him for advice. I go to him to smile. I even go to him when I'm drinking, believe it or not. So I think this is a wonderful start to a great relationship. I advocate getting the book, not because he's my friend, but first and foremost because it's well written. It's got beautiful pictures. It tells a story of a very beautiful person. You may grow to either like him or hate him by reading his book, but the one thing that I find most refreshing is that heart is pure and genuine, and it really does have good motive, despite his circumstances, despite his plight, despite his chaos. And again, I'll say what I said lastly, which is, God, thank you so much for letting him live through all these circumstances, because if you had died on the street, all these people will never get to know how wonderful you really are. And that's what I think of you.
I'm glad. I'm still glad to be around. I'm fortunate.
Me too.
Not everybody. A lot of my guys didn't make it.
I forgot one more thing, too. I don't want to cut you off, but since we're down to the last 3-minute wire here, it's important to let everybody know 2 different things. You can let your friends and followers know this on all social media, as I will as well. This interview, as soon as we get off air within the hour, is archived. Anybody can go back and listen all year round to you 24/7 anytime they want. So they need to know that. The link will be posted up in terms of that. Obviously, of course, Amazon.com. Go visit as far as getting the book. And John and I have talked about this before, and we'll all keep you updated. But the reality is I'd like to see him and I doing another live interview along with promoting his book somewhere in New York City, which will be a work in progress. And eventually, hopefully, we'll get to that, at some point in time, I hope. But I want to thank you for taking all this time. I'm sorry that I've taken 2 hours out of your life, but it was an amazing 2 hours for me, and I enjoyed it profusely. So thank you. Just thank you. Thank you for being here.
Cindy, it's been a pleasure. I'm so glad you contacted me and you reached out. and I told you, it's a good story. It's a great story. I mean, it's I know it. It's just me. I can't believe it happened, and I'm glad you contacted me, and geez, man, you're such a nice person, man. I can't believe it. So it's great. It's great to meet you, and
Thank you.
believe me, I'll be meeting you. I was supposed to meet you in Brooklyn
This weekend.
during the week, whatever. I was going to be down there, but that'll be surely to happen soon.
Yeah, it will definitely, and we'll work that all out, obviously. So yeah, like I said, I'll do that. But now I'm going to cut you off. I'm going to give everybody all this information one more time, and we'll chat off air. So you're free to go. Thank you, dear.
All right, Cindy. I'll be talking to you soon.
All right, sweetie. Take care. I'll talk to you soon.
I'll see you, Cindy.
So, folks, that was him, Mr. John Pasquale. See, he's going to probably kill me because I mispronounced it. And he wasn't paying attention, but notice I did not say Pasquale more than one time today. Actually, twice. I just caught myself. All right, one more time. Facebook personal page. Last name again spelled Pasquale. His Twitter handle is @Pasquale0022. Instagram, John _ same spelling, Pasquale 22. Book is at Amazon.com. I am wishing him nothing but good luck, success, and much love, obviously. The name of the book is Bronx Park East, Chaos, Insanity, and Tragedy. I do hope that I've done him proper justice. Don't want to forget to mention to everybody, next week's shows we're going to be doing, if I'm not mistaken, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Do check out the Sins Chat Corner Facebook page or the website or Blog Talk Radio for a definitive schedule as far as that goes. Again, I want to thank my John for everything, including being a guest and tolerating me for 2 hours today. I am off hopefully shortly, if all goes well, to the Wisconsin State Fair Park shortly. I'm starving. I need grilled cheese. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. If any of you are down there, there's about 17 of my friends playing live local music. PDP is down there. Sam Goyton of Generation X is down there, or Generation Z, excuse me. Dear friends, Jim W., along with many others. So just give me a shout out on Facebook if you happen to be there, and have a nice weekend. And thank you so much to everybody for listening.
What you doing?
Ran out of space on my phone, so I'm deleting some stuff. By singing dog. By goal.
I pronounce you.
By wedding ceremony.
Stop. At Metro PCS, you get 2 free phones with twice as much memory.
Really?
Don't say bye to your memories. Switch to Metro PCS and get 2 free LG K20 Plus phones with 32 gigs when you switch 2 lines. Metro PCS. Wireless. Figured out. Coverage not available in some areas. Sales tax not included in phone price. Excludes numbers on the T-Mobile network. See store for details and terms and conditions.
What you doing?
Ran out of space on my phone, so I'm deleting some stuff. By singing dog. By goal.
I pronounce you.
By wedding ceremony.
Stop. At Metro PCS, you get 2 free phones with twice as much memory.
Really?
Don't say bye to your memories. Switch to Metro PCS and get 2 free LG K20 Plus phones with 32 gigs when you switch 2 lines. Metro PCS. Wireless. Figured out. Coverage not available in some areas. Sales tax not included in phone price. Excludes numbers on the T-Mobile network. See store for details and terms and conditions.